message.
Hey, Steve.
Message erased. Next message.
Just click comment and get stuff.
Message erased. Next message.
Can you give me a call back?
4 a.m. sitting still in your sweatshirt. Red lights glaring up and my head hurts. Rolling over, missing everything I had first. When I thought I'd always have it. Wanna call you, but I know you're gonna freak out. The only person calling lately is a freak now. But if I hold it to myself, it's gonna leak out. Guys, I could be there when your head's stuck in bed, knowing then you feel hurt. Love should be fair. You do you, I do me, cause it's
Hello and welcome to the 2020 Honda CR-V Hybrid. A welcome addition to the CR-V lineup and a bit of assistance to the Accord Hybrid and the Insight, which are doing a lot of the legwork for Honda's hybrid systems right now. This is the same hybrid setup that's in the Accord and allows for about 212 horsepower and a little over 220 foot-pounds of torque. It's tough to combine it out and get an actual number. The hybrid system, the way they mesh together is a little different than how we get regular horsepower numbers. But it feels a little bit quicker than the regular turbo CR-V, but I wouldn't say it's outwardly faster. Even though it's touted as the most powerful CR-V in the lineup, it doesn't just rip your head off with acceleration. Not that any cars in this segment usually tend to, but it doesn't just feel outwardly like it is exponentially faster than the other CR-V. The other CR-V probably has a little bit more top end. Once you get into the turbo and get the car moving, it feels like it'll maintain its speed a little bit better, whereas this car has a lot more punch off the line. You notice this when you're driving around town, going around 30, 40 miles an hour, or getting right off the line. It's got much more noticeable punch than the naturally aspirated or the turbo cars do. The increase in mileage is pretty good as well. You get about 35 highway and about 40 city for a combined average of about 38 mpg. We've been driving on this highway now for, about 400 miles. Our combined average right now is 35 miles per gallon. We've been bouncing around at highway speeds here at 80 miles an hour. It's not the best place for this hybrid. We would definitely be doing a little bit better if we were on a highway with a little lower speed limit or if we were just riding around town. But it's still doing great, and we're making it around with very little issue. The car itself definitely has a little bit of wind noise, and it doesn't have a CVT. The way the transmission works in this car is a little complicated. The motor is technically mounted directly to a generator that helps send power out to whatever wheels necessary through an actual mechanical all-wheel drive system, as opposed to something like the RAV4 hybrid's electrical all-wheel drive system. So one of the benefits of that is if you run out of hybrid battery in this CR-V, you still have all-wheel drive. Whereas if you were to run out of battery in something like the RAV4 hybrid, you lose the ability to send power to your rear wheels, and now you just have a front-wheel drive car. The all-wheel drive system in this car is very good. It allows you to get around and get out of situations pretty easily. It can send power to whichever of the wheels it needs to help get you out of any kind of troublesome situations and still help return that awesome gas mileage. The hybrid is a little bit different than the regular CR-Vs. You've got the blue badging in the front and the back. You've got the hybrid badges on the side and the back. A slightly different grille, a little bit different headlights. LED headlights are standard, as well as LED fog lights on the EX and above trims. And they're a little different shape, but you have LEDs all over the place in this car. The only incandescent bulbs happen to be in the reverse lights, which you don't use as often. Everything else, running lights, turn signals, brake lights, tail lights, it's all LED. It's all much brighter at night, and it helps make the car feel a little bit more upscale, helps it look a little bit more upscale as well. And when you start looking at the cost per a regular CR-V, it's a nice addition. It's a nice thing that kind of sets the hybrid apart. The little bit of different styling and a couple of the extra features that you get on just standard. This car, being a touring trim, is sitting at about $36,000, which is a relative bargain in this situation. This is the fully loaded version. You've got leather seats, you've got the wood trim. You've got Honda's safety suite, Honda Sense, that does really great out on the road. The automatic cruise control is great. The lane keeping assist is great. It's a very safe vehicle. Honda's gone to great lengths to try and make the CR-V appealing and safe to anybody who wants to use it. It's very comfortable. I've been in the car for about 5 hours now, and I don't have any kind of soreness. The seats look great. They're very supportive, and they're very comfortable. Makes for making long road trips a nice, easy breeze, and should accommodate all kinds of body types. They're not too tight, they're not too flat, just the right amount of support. You are missing a couple of little things in here that some of the competition has, such as a heads-up display, maybe some cooled seats, and maybe a little bit bigger touchscreen. At 7 inches, this is one of the smaller ones in the segment, but it gets the job done just fine. There's very minimal lag. Everything feels pretty up to date. Nothing looks like it's back from 2010 or anything. It's just not particularly modern, especially with some of the new systems coming out that look really, really nice and are really polished and have little to no lag at all. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are standard on this car now, which is a wonderful addition. They're very easy to use, and I haven't had any issues running CarPlay with mine the entire time. It's been going fantastic. The inside of the car is really well appointed. You've got these black leather seats in this particular car, a ton of rear seat room. That's really where the CR-V excels. Is back passenger comfort is sublime. You have a lot of room in a car this size. Regular people can sit behind any driving position and still have room for their knees and their feet, which is very nice when you're either hauling children or hauling other people around. In the back, you lose a little bit of space because the extra hybrid things are packaged in the back of the car, so you don't get the fold-away 2-level floor that the regular CR-Vs have, unfortunately. You don't lose a terrible amount of cargo space, but it is enough that you will see a difference if you have looked at the regular gas CR-Vs, and that should be something to consider. It doesn't take up a lot of room, but it does take up a little bit of room over the standard cars. As far as driving performance goes, the car is pretty quick, but that's really not what you're focusing on. The hybrid is a nice assist and fills in kind of nicely where the engine isn't making power, but at the end of the day, it's not a car that really encourages sporty driving. There is a sport button that you can put it into a sport mode, which will make the electronic hybrid system respond a little bit differently, give you a little bit more of an assist right off the line, but it's nothing too fantastic. It's not going to set your pants on fire by any means. If you put it in the economy mode, however, that's where you actually do notice a pretty big difference, and that's kind of the mode that this car is really happy in if you can deal with the delayed throttle response. It cuts everything, I would say, probably by like 50%. You can be trying to push the gas pedal down and it will give you a very, very slow increment as you accelerate, trying to do its best to keep your mileage at its peak. You can watch your unique gauge to this hybrid in the center screen here that shows where your charge and where your power is going. And there's actually a couple neat little features inside of the screen with telemetry that'll kind of stay green or blue depending on how efficiently you're driving. If you're keeping it nice, the car will barely move and you'll stay in the nice green zone. If you start putting your foot to the floor, it's going to turn a nice solid blue. The car is going to lurch forward and you're not going to be getting great gas mileage, unfortunately. But a lot of people aren't going to be out trying to just race their CR-Vs around, so that's probably not something most people will have to worry about. It drives down the road pretty smoothly. There is a bit of road noise, a bit of wind noise. The CR-V's never really been the king of that in its segment, but it seems like it's been reduced over the last generation pre-refresh, so that's been quite a nice addition. Everything you touch and feel inside of this car feels well constructed. It feels nice and sturdy. It feels like it's got that good Honda build quality. Nothing feels like it's just going to fall apart and rattle to death on you, which is a great feel. It gives you confidence in the car and that it'll last and hold up over the long haul. The only things that I don't really like about this car are the fact that the climate control has to be done through the touchscreen. I oppose this in any car that it is done in. You have a couple hard buttons in this car to change some things, but you can't change the mode, and you can't change the AC being on. You can't change a couple of the little things. You have to push the climate button and do it through the touchscreen. And this could be detrimental when the touchscreen fails. Now your climate control has failed. Or if your climate control fails, it's via the touchscreen. So that's something that you're going to have to replace, and it could be a very costly thing to have to replace. So I am vehemently against that. I would prefer everything to just have separate controls. It's nicer to have the buttons anyway, in my opinion, and to have nice, hard, tactile knobs so you know what you're doing. One of my favorite things I've been enjoying while driving this car is using the paddle shifters. Paddle shifters in a hybrid, you say? Yes. It's to help control the degen and the regenerative braking that this car can do. So if you click the left paddle all the way down, the car will decelerate pretty aggressively in order to help charge the battery up. It's kind of fun to click it down when you're going down a hill and then click it back up as you get flat to let the car actually get a good bit more charge. You can improve your mileage this way, and if you want a hypermile, leave it in that econ mode and start playing with the paddles, and you can watch your MPGs go well into the 40s pretty easily. It's a lot of fun to be sitting there because you are clicking the paddles off all the time if you're going through hilly areas like I've been driving today, and it just makes it a little bit more exciting. Gives you something more to do while you're driving the car instead of calmly and quietly cruising along. The car does make a Phantom of the Opera kind of noise as it's cruising along to let other people know that it's moving. That's a big thing with these hybrids and electric cars nowadays, and it's for pedestrian safety, so that way these things don't sneak up on you and smash you in the back like serial killers. But the trade-off is a noise that makes it sound like a serial killer. So here we are. So what is the CR-V hybrid aimed at? It's aimed at somebody who wants to get good mileage, wants a car that has great storage and great usability, isn't blasting cutting edge of tech. It's still very user-friendly and still very usable. There's not a huge learning curve to try and get into anything. You have nice, simple menus within the touchscreen to get to whatever you would like to get to. All the buttons make sense. There's not all these weird pictures and things for buttons you don't understand. It's remained a nice, simple, perfect commuter kind of car. It's great for adventuring on the weekend. You can take it off-road. You can't go beat on it and take it on super heavy-duty trails, but it's off-road ready and is capable of getting down most trails that people would take it on. So for somebody who is interested in getting awesome gas mileage, a very, very comfortable package, and something that retains its resale value because of Honda reliability, this is a phenomenal package for you to be checking out. I don't know if I think it's the best in the lineup. The turbo car still has its advantages and is still a little fun for not a terrible reduction in the MPG. These newer cars are getting much better mileage out of the box, and this hybrid one, while it does get better mileage, I don't know that the way it drives justifies getting it over a turbo. I like the way the turbo feels. I like the little bit of lag and little bit of delay it has, because when you get going, vroom, you get going. Whereas this one, you kind of start off the line with a, whoo, okay, and then it kind of falls off and it just makes a lot of noise. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't have a conventional CVT like most cars do, but it does drive in a similar manner to the way a lot of CVTs do. You'll hear it rev up and you'll hear it stay kind of where it needs to be to try and get you accelerating down the road. It's not the most pleasant of noises, but hey, it's not terrible. When it's running in its EV mode, it's actually really quiet otherwise. So, when it comes to the CR-V, I think Honda's done a great job introducing this hybrid drivetrain. It's something that's probably going to start popping up in a lot more Honda products, and something that is going to help Honda gain a little bit more gas mileage across their line. And with people looking for more economical options and something that is a little bit more environmentally friendly than your average gas guzzler, this is a phenomenal option. It's a great thing to go take a look at, and being all new for 2020, you won't see a ton of them out, so you can feel a little special for a while until they start taking over the road like this CR-V has done. It's handsome. In this sonic gray, it looks phenomenal, and if you want to go try one out, I strongly recommend it. The gas mileage is pretty great for what it is. It's not quite as strong on high-speed highway runs, but for something around town where you do a lot of short trips and a lot of under 60 mile an hour commuting, this car is going to be perfect and be great for you. So, it comes with a pretty high recommendation, and I especially like this color. It's one of my favorite in the Honda lineup, and if you think so, let me know. But for now, I want to thank you for coming by and checking out another episode of our road trip car reviews. Today we've had the 2020 Honda CR-V. Absolutely wonderful car. It's been great to take on the road for about 5.5 hours, and I got 3.5 more. So we will see you next time. Thank you guys, and have a good one.
You have 12 new voice messages. First voice message. End of message.